Today I'm doing another sketchbook session. Today's session is going to be an hour long and I'm going to spend the whole time doing a study of the painting on the left hand side. It's by William-Adolphe Bouguereau and it's called the Young Shepherdess. If you've watched my other exercise video, then you're already familiar with the materials I'm using and how I get warmed up. But if you haven't, then I'll just put a link on the top and you can follow that link if you're interested in those elements. So for my starting session, I'm going to just be mapping out the envelope shape of the painting on the left-hand side. I have helped myself out by cropping it to the same dimensions as the paper that I have in front of me, and that will just help things along a little bit. So it's really a rough outline at the moment. I'm not expecting these lines are absolutely correct. I'm just trying to do straight lines as much as possible and follow the angles and the shapes that I'm seeing on the left hand side. I will be checking in on my drawing a little bit later, so skip forward to chapter 2 if you want to see how I do that. So at this stage I've got the drawing pretty accurate. At this point you've got a few options. You can either just proceed with the drawing and just carry on, or you can do what I do, which is just check the dimensions of the drawing, just make sure everything's in the correct place before you proceed. I do this especially when I'm filming videos because of the angle I draw at, and the inability to take breaks means that I often make mistakes in my drawing, so I don't really want to carry on with a drawing where everything's in the wrong place. The app that I'm using is the overlay app. I will provide a link. If your initial drawing isn't spot on, then it might be a bit tricky to get things lined up, but it might just be a case of trying rotating it a little bit, zooming it in and out, and see if you can get it as close as possible. So I finally got it lined up. As you can see, it took a little bit of a while. I think that's because my drawing's a little bit wonky, but also a bit twisted. But I think this is pretty close, and looking at it now, I could see that there was a few areas that needed adjustment. So her shoulder on the top right hand side, and also her arms were a little bit too high up. So that just tells me what I need to fix. But actually a lot around the face looks okay. I've just kind of positioned her arm and in the wrong place, which is why the drawing looks a bit odd. So yeah, the next stage is just to fix the drawing errors. So this is just kind of a continuation of the drawing phase, really. If you're not doing it for a timed exercise, if you don't have a time crunch, then I would definitely recommend trying to take a few breaks and get the drawing as accurate as possible before you do the checking of the accuracy. But you absolutely don't have to. I mean, just do whatever works for you for what the time you have available. So at this stage I was pretty happy with the drawing. I think there was a few more errors, but I was mostly happy that everything was pretty much resolved, the biggest drawing errors. So because my drawing has so many lines, I decided to actually just knock the drawing back a little bit and kind of redraw it. To do this, I'm taking my kneaded eraser and I'm rolling it into a tube, and then I'll just roll that over my pencil drawing, and it just really takes a lot of the darkness out of the lines. I mean, if the other option is just draw your initial drawing very, very lightly, but as I drew my initial drawing with a heavy hand, I'm just doing this now to kind of reduce that drawing, and that gives me a very light pencil drawing that I can then go back in with a pencil and just pick out the kind of major areas of tone. So at this stage, I'm not really thinking of drawing the girl anymore. I'm actually looking at the picture on the left hand side and trying to identify the main, if I was to posterize it into 5 colours or 5 shades of grey, what areas are the darkest, what areas are the lightest, and just kind of like drawing the pencil line around those areas. So that's what you'll be seeing me doing now. And this is all in preparation for the block-in and applying the tone to the drawing. So at this stage, I was pretty happy that the drawing was mostly accurate, and I just wanted to go in and apply the areas of tone. There's lots of different ways to do this, but I'm just using the side of my pencil and just applying the blocked areas of tone. I'm only doing a few tones at the moment, and that's just to kind of avoid any confusion and avoid my brain getting in the way. The reference picture I've chosen on the left hand side is quite dark, so her head is almost as dark as her dress, so I was just making sure to block that in first so that I didn't get confused and over model it further down the line. So I'm always a bit torn about when to start smudging. Sometimes I smudge quite late on, and sometimes I do it early. In this case, I decided I want to smudge quite early on. The smudger I'm using here is actually a beauty blender, because it's quite good for kind of doing large areas of tone, but equally you can use your finger, or you can use a stump or a piece of toilet paper, or whatever you like to smudge the drawing in, whatever works. So I'm really almost painting on my pencil drawing now, just to kind of figure out where the areas of tone are. And I'll kind of rotate a little bit between drawing, smudging and erasing for the next stage. So at this stage I was pretty happy that I got a rough idea of where the darks and lights are. You can see it's nowhere near as dark as the drawing, but I wanted some room to increase the darks even further, so although I've got a block in here, the value range is still quite compressed. So now I'm just going in and refining my drawing and also building up those dark areas. So whilst I'm drawing, I'm really trying to keep an eye on the overall tones. So comparing, if I'm working on a specific area, compare it to other parts of the drawing and make sure that I'm keeping everything consistent. Another thing I'm really looking for is the edges. So where am I seeing very sharp defined edges and where are the edges almost lost? As an example of a lost edge, if you see where her shirt has been rolled up on her sleeve, that grey area above the rolled up shirt is almost exactly the same tone as the bushes in the background. So by exaggerating and kind of spotting elements like those and reflecting them in your drawing, you achieve the same effect. So that's something I'm really keeping an eye on. I have got a mix of different textures, so you'll see when I draw her skirt it's in a really rough texture. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't. I mean, this is a sketchbook exercise, so it's all about, not doing the most amazing drawing, but maybe just experimenting and trying different things and seeing what works. So I'm pretty much done here. I've tilted up the book so I can have a look at the drawing because the light was reflecting off the graphite. But this is pretty much the finishing stages. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good for what I can do in an hour, so I was pretty happy with it overall. I could keep going. I think I might. I can still see now there's a few errors that have probably thrown the drawing off, but I'm happy with what I got done in the time. I hope you enjoyed this sketchbook session with a master study of Ber-juh-row. If you've got any ideas for future videos, leave a comment and like and subscribe for more. Thanks very much guys, bye bye.